Good afternoon, folks. Sunday morning, afternoon, cheery Punjab suit and a cup of Starbucks home blend, house blend Nespresso. The structure today is going to be kind of interesting. We're going to, as my friend had mentioned earlier, we're going to go down some foreign policy issues that are shaping or sounding in the world. Then go to whose economy is it stupid? It's the economy stupid, as Sujit Bhalla says. But then my question is, whose economy is it stupid? And finally, what's happening and how the discourse in the Indian elections, which is now entering its final phase, has been reduced to rubble, almost rubble. So, okay, what do we have here in terms of what I have seen, which is kind of grabbing the headlines in foreign policy? Well, the first one I see is World Brief, China tackles its housing crisis. It says Beijing unveiled a nationwide plan on Friday to try to stabilize the country's floundering property sector. China's central bank announced that it will provide nearly 42 billion in cheap loans to help local state-owned entities purchase unsold property to turn into affordable housing. This is a significant historic moment for the market, China's state-run real estate newspaper wrote on Friday. The measure signals the beginning of the end of China's housing crisis. It's never going to be. Do remember, whoever was in the United States at that point, do remember the SNL crisis, savings and loan crisis. That's what it all about, making it cheap to get rid of property, having absolutely no down payments, and that's what China is following blindly. Is it going to help it? Probably not. It's over leveraged. Then you have the U.S. Navy can't build ships. That's kind of interesting. I thought they could. And what Biden's new China tariff means for world trade. Then what do you have? You have what Biden's tariff means. On Tuesday, the Biden administration quadrupled U.S. tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles to a scarcely believable 100%. The move is hardly partisan. On hearing the news, U.S. President Joe Biden's rival, former President Trump, told reporters he would have wanted more taxes. God, so China is up a creek. I don't know whose side they're on, right? Then you have this is a very important one. It says show of unity, and the headline says World Brief, Putin, Xi deepen strategic partnership in Beijing. It says Russian President Putin met with Xi Jinping in Beijing on Thursday to celebrate 75 years of diplomatic relations. The China-Russia relationship today is hard-earned, and the two sides need to cherish and nurture it, she said. They really have themselves, and eventually it's the world and it's their own economies that are going to tell you what's going to happen. Then you have the other foreign policy says Gazprom's declining fortunes spell trouble for Moscow. And you got to hear this, right? This is really interesting. It says at the end of 22, Dmitry Medvedev, Russia's former prime minister and the current deputy chairman of its Security Council, offered his predictions for the coming year. He warned the Europeans would suffer badly from Russia's decision to curb natural gas exports to the European Union, suggesting the gas prices would jump to 5 per thousand cubic meters, 5,000 per thousand cubic meters to in 2023, around 50 times their pre-war average. He probably assumed that the sky-high prices would translate into a windfall for Russian state-owned energy company Gazprom. Okay, then what happened? It turns out that Medvedev might want to polish his crystal ball. Last year, European gas prices averaged a mere 1/10 of his number. And just this month, Gazprom posted a massive 6.8 billion loss for 2023. Get that, folks. All you lovers of Russian-China axis. It's kind of interesting, right? And then what do we have? Another Russia advances on Kharkiv as Ukraine struggles to fight back. This is turning interesting. In South Asia, Michael Kugenberg writes the highlights this week. An international delegation arrived in Islamabad amid economic protests in POK, US. U.S. Assistant Secretary of State of South Asia Donald Lu travels to the region and India in support management deal with Iran. So what do we have? So that's similarly, this is what I read in foreign policy, and what are we reading here? We have 3 protesters killed in POK, New Delhi watching situation. Well, we all want POK, but I'm not sure what we're going to do with it, right? Especially if this government is on and on about the Muslims. What are you going to do with a territory that's only all Muslims, right? You're not going to just sell it all to Pakistan, are you, right? That's the funny discourse that we will get POK back. But let me tell you what's the real estate that India wants, right, is Gilgit-Baltistan, because that's the highway into your connectivity to Central Europe. But China ain't going to give that to us. China is sitting pretty there. And then Nepal, map that threatens to derail India-Nepal ties. Territorial claims between contiguous states are not a new phenomena, but highlighting them on currency notes or national emblems has living consequences and is a matter of seriousness when the ties are friendly and close. The government of Nepal has just approved a map of the country to be printed on the country's new 100 rupee note. This has rightly drawn criticism from India, as the map of Nepal was amended in 2020 to explicitly highlight its claim on Indian territories in Uttarakhand. Those tensions have barely calmed down before the latest one boiled over. And just do remember, India has had to move lots of army into that area in Uttarakhand, right? Maldives lost cause. India to extend budgetary support of 50 million to Maldives. Not a lost cause India, lost cause Maldives. US shows understanding of Chabahar ops importance, says India. US warns of sanctions after India-Iran seal Chabahar deal. India signs deal with Iran to run Chabahar port, offers 250 million credit window for infra to invest 120 million to equip port. Let's hope all the equipment that goes there comes from India, because otherwise spending money with Iran, you really, in my opinion, you can't trust Iran. India's stakes in Chabahar, as written by Subhajit Roy, signing of a long-term contract with Iran on the strategically located port is part of India's strategic and economic vision for Central Asia and beyond. However, the project has always faced multiple challenges and it will continue to do so. US threatens sanctions over business deals with Iran, envoy hits back, don't take narrow view on port EAM, that's true. US ignoring its own sanction waiver to India on Chabahar port. The project will benefit the entire region and people should not take a narrow view of it, says Jaishankar. Absolutely. Chabahar port of a smart core. It is, but then if all things were perfect. At this point in time, in my opinion, you can't trust Iran, especially with what's happening in the Middle East, Iran, Hamas, Palestine, Israel, like this. Ex-Indian Army colonel with UN killed in Gaza, ex-Indian Army officer killed in Rafah strike, same guy, retired Colonel 46, working with UN killed in Gaza attack. What's important to note here is that India is sending a lot of youngsters there to work, right? NSG and elite US troops conduct counter-terror drill in Kolkata. So this continues. Sino-Russian axis set to divide the world further, writes Mohan Kumar. That's absolutely. So where does this leave the world order in general and India in particular? It is clear that Sino-Russian axis is here to stay, and this will fragment the world order even more than it has done so before. Absolutely. India is going to have a difficult time. Then you have this report, India tops list of internet shuts down. And then when Raja Mohan writes this, misreading America's lines, debate on democracy might suggest that American foreign policy is run by missionaries to spread political liberalism. Nothing could be further from the truth. I would say it may be, at this point of time, China occupies a huge space in the US mind space, right? If it finds that India is not going to build up to be a counter to China, Trump might decide that, folks. Trump might just decide. It's going to wash its hands off India, and then all the freebies we are going to get are going to go. And now let's get into the economy. Whose economy is it, guys? Surjit Bhalla, shiny economy like 2004 Vajpayee, shining India? Or economy of the opposition, which claims unemployment and inflation and Agniveer and rampant corruption. Now, a lot of people come back at me, my friends. Corruption, everybody's corrupt, everybody's corrupt, everybody's corrupt. And the other person says, and also we should be allowed to make money. Everybody should be allowed to make money, which means the Trump way, currently the way, if you're in the current dispensation or if you're in the UK, which basically says that you're away from the socialist trend, you are right-wing laissez-faire economy, freedom. And this also brings up a question about what my friend once, like I told you last debate, that he said debt doesn't matter, and I reminded him about the Latin American crisis. But debt and the size of India's debt that has grown so rapidly in the last 10 years is possibly one of the key reasons for India not being able to get its prices down and the inflationary pressure. I can bet you on that. And this small note should tell you a lot. It says China raises bullet trains fares as debts and costs balloon. As debts and costs balloon. I'm so sorry, guys from Stanford, Harvard, Wall Street. Debt does matter. And it's beginning to matter in India. It is beginning to bite the ordinary man. Okay. And then this, China lays out, I just told you about historic plans to prop up its reality market. And that's the first sign of disaster. We've seen the SNL, right? Crisis in the United States. The United States, unfortunately, had the bandwidth to absorb it at that point. Does China have the bandwidth to absorb this? No. Because I think it's overextended internationally, nationally, the whole bit, right? Like I said, in India, April WPI inflation rises to 13-month high of 1.26%, and you'll be confounded with the different inflation that keep getting thrown to negate this. It just confuses everybody. It tells me that the information that we're getting is not the best in the world. And at the end of the day, the person who said everybody should be about to make money, this is the statement that kind of captures that. Modi hits out at opposition, says it believes in Maoist economics. All these people who want to make money think that socialism is Maoist economics. And also, the people who actually think that how does it change your life, it doesn't bother you, have got to be, I think, clueless, principleless, but at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter how, right? But then say, your phone bill could rise up 25% post-election. FBI sell over 17,000 crore stocks in 6 sessions on poll jitter. Then let me tell you, the market that's going up right now has got to do with a lot of internal support. Which is always happening. You get the LIC in, you get the mutual funds in, right? But this is something that I want to talk to you about. US raises tariffs on Chinese steel, aluminum, EVs, batteries, chips. Tariff war with US may trigger dumping of Chinese products. India top trade partner China regains spot on higher imports. So pray tell me, how is this going to ever happen? Hope remaining issues with China are soon resolved this year. How is this going to happen? It'll never happen. We are clueless. We've not spent any money on research and development. And then you have this. International calls for iPhones made in India ring louder. This is what we need, even though it's just assembly at this point in time. Not the kind of exports we're doing to China. We are importing finished products, semi-finished products. Exporting only pure commodities. That's doing nothing for us in only degrading our environment. Okay. And US firm becomes world's most valuable solar firm after Chinese rivals. Go figure this. For most Indian people who are thinking aloud, should actually now be focused on the United States for everything. India saved 25 billion by importing Russian oil, says ministry data. But then, hey, diesel shipments to Europe slipped 20% as US Gulf supplies rises. Europe was always going to get an alternative to the stupid Russian oil and gas, as you see what's happened to Gazprom. And then this tells you about the Chinese debt I was talking about. Whether this China-Russia axis is there to stay, maybe. But India-Nigeria trade officials meet as China's Africa investments water. Folks, our farming is in trouble. I'll tell you why. I read this article, 10% dip in imports of fertilizer in 23-24. I've also read articles of leading fertilizer companies whose top line has dropped 20 to 25%. It just tells me one thing. While these guys are trying to pretend that it's because of increased production in India, I can tell you it's because of decreased offtake, and that is dangerous. And now let's come to the beautiful clips that are playing around in India. Delhi statehood, China land issues and Kejriwal's guarantees. Absolutely. In the United States, like this person was very clear that Trump will win, and she probably wanted him to. And yeah, he's leading in four states, but he's leading in four swing states. But like I said, till the fat lady sings, nothing is over. And this is one of his pet problems that he has, which is basically overcome, as I saw in a lot of polls, by the abortion issue and rights to abortion, is this. On Israel, Biden's quest for balance. He says, Starbucks, Pennsylvania Avenue, House Representative Ro Khanna, rising Democratic Party star likely to throw his hat in the presidential primary 2008, is a surrogate for the Biden campaign, especially in swing states with skeptical voters on the left. Over coffee, a short walk from the Hill, he had elaborated on what he saw was Biden's biggest mistake. We gave too much of a blank check. We should never have bear hug Netanyahu, giving his history of having insulted President Obama, having been an anti-democratic voice within Israel, trying to get rid of the Supreme Court autonomy, and having never been a partner for peace. Absolutely. And the US polls will shape the world. It is true, Donald Trump has a slight edge, but do not underestimate Joe Biden. This is an open election which could go either way. Women will swing it in India. But let me see, my last forecast gave you this estimate. I think I said 195, 198 for the NDA, and I gave a figure of 270 plus for the India Alliance. I continue to stick with that number. The next 3 phases of elections going, but the number has not changed. If anything, it's probably gotten a little better for the India Alliance. Will lead and support India government from outside, says Mamata. This is an important statement she's made. Till now she's been waffling. Her statement now suggests that even she's getting some kind of a hype that India Alliance may be up ahead. But look at this, right? You have this issue about this lady Mewal, I think, whatever, in Delhi. But nobody's done anything about Manipur and the girls there. Nobody's done anything about our wrestler girls. Nobody's done anything about Hathras. Manipur sees spate of abductions, at least 13 reported within a week. This will play an important part in Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra. Tribal fear they may lose quota agricultural land. In third term, NDA will ban cows, build Sita temple. If the Sita temple, folks, has to be built, it's got to be in Nepal. Just remember that. I think she was born there. I don't think Shah knows much of his. He doesn't know anything about the Hindu religion or Sanatan Dharma. Let me just tell you that. I am exposing those who do Hindu-Muslim, says Modi. Congress wanted to spend 15% of budget on Muslims, PM. Now the funny part is just the day before he did this conversation piece with the ANI, who's become like a Godi media, like, chapusi kind of dog, telling them that if I did Hindu-Muslim, I'd not be in public life. Hey man. PMLA case of parasite needs predicate offense. The Supreme Court's not coming down hard. ED can't threaten accused once court takes cognizance of complaints. SC. No proof given by ED to declare Choksi a fugitive, says there flies Choksi. Ooh. Kataka. Choksi is gone. NewsClick founder gets bail as SC says arrest and remand illegal. Sigh of relief. No exception made for CM, SC on interim bail, arrest plea. Imagine this. Shah on TV interview actually calls out the Supreme Court. This is shameful. But the Supreme Court got back. India informs FATF of steps taken on money laundering terror fund. Guys, can you even imagine they're part of an FATF query? Can you imagine? Norway excludes Adani ports from its global fund. Bye Adani. Risk of sentiment brings big sell-off in FPI heavy counters, but then everybody's thinking this market is adjusting which way this election is going. So but suddenly bounces up a little bit, and guess who? EM comes out and says markets rebound on Shah's 400 plus call. Don't do presser as media not neutral, says PM. Oh man, it's got to be the most laughing statement of this. Shah to Rahul, who willed you the 2 seats? Now, he obviously doesn't know how a democracy works, right? Nobody wills anybody's states. But the people, if they keep picking you, they've kind of bequeathed that seat to you. SC seeks EC reply on plea for detailed turnout data. That's where, folks, it seems some kapla may be happening in the EVMs. But there you stand, folks. My call, too close to call the United States, but India, definitely India Alliance. In India, of course, India has an edge, folks. India has an edge. 3 cheers. Jai Hind.